Hello. Talk about tape measures. Now, if you read it, the post I put up earlier, you'll see that I mentioned the tape measures that are a different size. This one is in my kit box so I can show people. It has a big line drawn through it so that nobody uses it. If you hold this one up against a standard one, let me just get some of the lines lined up. Can you see? If I line that one to that one, an inch on this one is much longer than an inch on that one. But if you look at that carefully, look, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, making 10 divisions on that one. Now this is a Christmas cracker cheap sewing kit one, and those are not standard inches, and you do not want to be measuring your things with them. Although obviously if you did start with them, as long as you use the same one all the time, and never use those measurements for anything else. This one, I think I have to run right away. So just, what's that bit at the end for? Can you imagine this is a tailor's tape measure? That bit at the end is useful for when you're measuring inside leg measurements, especially on somebody other than yourself. You haven't got to put your hand all the way up there. I actually have no idea if that's what it was originally put there for. It's what I was taught it was put there for, and I've never researched it otherwise. But it does come in very handy for measuring things where you want to put the tape measure somewhere you don't want to put your hand. So that's the tailor's tape measure. And this one, the fact that it's so narrow, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't checked this one for a long time. Check its measurements match. Yeah, they do match my tailor's measure. But see, the reason I keep this one is, can you see how much narrower it is? This is brilliant for if I'm making, like I said, toys, anything very small. You've got to get something really narrow, and you're trying to measure with the big tape measure, and you can't see both sides of it. So this one, brilliant, really narrow, and that's what I keep that one for. I've got this one. It wasn't in the picture. And this is quite new to me, this one. I picked it up thinking, what's a gadget? Does it work? I actually quite like it. Look, you do that. Can you see? You pop that back in there, and then watch what happens. Have I got it in the right way around? No, I don't think I have. Do that. Pop that bit back in there, and then watch. I can hold it in with one finger and press the button with the other. If you want. Oh, it's not going to go small enough to. Oh, is it? Yes, it is. Look. So now I have a clear measurement of the size of my wrist. Right, then it comes off. I've never really used it. I think if you were measuring yourself, and you were having to measure, because drafting patterns and checking pattern fits, you might want to measure around the tops of arms, around thighs, around your waist. I think this could prove to be quite handy. From my use point of view, the only issue with it is that the inches are on the outside and centimetres on the inside, and I mostly work in centimetres, but I'm going to tighten up around my wrist. So if I do that, I've then got to know that I'm exactly 6.5 inches, and when it's off, I've got to go and check it on the other side. So I'd prefer if it was all in centimetres, but I don't know. I'll try it again, see how it works. Being new, I should have done this when I first got it. Does it line up? And it does, yes. The inches side. See? Yeah, it lines up with these ones. This is what I call my control tape measure. This is the one I mostly use. So anything else, as long as it matches, the measurements match the inches and the centimetres on this one. Now, the day this stops matching is the day I know I need to replace it, because it'll have got stretched out of shape. But this one wasn't a cheap one, and it's doing quite well. This one's probably a few years old. It's not that old because I do have to replace them every now and then. This is another favourite. There's nothing special about it except that it's extra long. And I'm not going to pull it out. I think, how long's this one? I never remember how long they are. This one's 60, 1.5. I think this one is nearly 3 metres long. And that's why I love it. It makes us be long things. It is fabulous if you want to measure off, say, 3 metres of fabric, and you keep changing the tape measure. This one's brilliant. Another one that I use a lot. Wind it all back up, wind it back up, wind it back up. Okay, and these ones are just collected over the years. Different tape measures. One of these is, I think it's this one's really quite old. And this one, if you can you see how it's all... This one I wouldn't use. I think I keep this one purely for sentimental purposes. Let's see, does it line up? Actually, it's not. Yeah, it's pretty reliable in terms of the size. But this one, centimetres. Ooh! No, they're very right. But this is an old one I've had for years. I think I used this one when I was studying. And so it is. It's battered, it's twisted. I don't rely on it anymore, but I keep it. This is my sentimental tape measure. Okay? You acquire tape measures over the years, but only keep the ones that are good, that aren't stretching, that aren't fraying. Once they start to stretch, fray, much as I hate ways to get rid of them, or at least stop using them. That one's inches and centimetres. I think all of mine are both. That's both. And that's, oh, this is really old. I don't know when Dean tape measures existed yet. This is another very old one. It's not as twisted as that one, but still the good ones. Yeah, this one still matches. So isn't stretched. Mine are fun. But yeah, every so often, check your tape measures. Check that they all measure the same size. When I cover other measuring equipment, I'll show you how to do the same thing with them. Check that they're all measuring the same, because if I used this tape measure to measure my body, and then this tape measure to measure my pattern, and the inches and the centimetres didn't match exactly on the two, my pattern's not going to be the same size as I measured my body. It'll always do the same. Now, another thing I mentioned was measuring curves. So let's move all that out of there. Before somebody tells me I've got my t-shirt on back to front, yes I have, because I just realised what was on the front of it just as I was about to start, so I turned it round, because you don't want to see what's on the front of this t-shirt. It's an at-home t-shirt. Right, so this is just the pattern I happen to have handy. Measuring that curve. You might want to measure curves when drafting patterns. You might want to measure them when you actually cut things out and you're trying to see if the two pieces match. Sleeve heads into arm size, for instance. You often need to measure curves. Now, I've watched people sit there for ages with their tape measure. Can I get away enough to go down there? Just trying to measure. And as you can see, no matter, turn that round, no matter what you do, no matter how you try and turn and twist, can you see the tape measure is going to bubble up all the time. There's just no way you can do it and get an accurate. It really is dead simple. Stand it on its side. If you stand it on its side, and then you do that, you put it at the beginning. If you need to, you can put a pin in at the start to keep it accurate. And then you just follow the edge of the tape measure. Keep the edge of the tape measure on the line. And you then get a perfect measurement for the curve. It's that simple. You can measure circles like that. There you go. I've now made my tape measure match that circle. And I can tell you that that circle is, by looking inside, just over 10 centimetres circumference without having any maths. That's all there is to it. Yeah, it's one of those things that's absolutely obvious once you know about it. And if you know about it, then great. But there's a lot of people don't, and they sit there trying. I watch them trying to do this to get an accurate measurement, and you can't. On its side. That simple. Okay. Any other questions about tape measures? I think you've had enough of this now. I'll answer them in the group. Bye.